As we do every week on BTBD Live, we go beyond the panel with Marie Wilson from BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. Marie, how are you?
I'm great.
Great to have another week of Star Wars comics. Great to have another week where you and I can talk about these Star Wars comics. And the big issue this week that's out at your local comic book shop starting today, this Wednesday, October 14th. It's Darth Vader number 6. Greg Pak packs a punch with this issue. And you know what, Marie? It really is just another example of how the Emperor does not have any really respect or remorse for Vader.
Not at all. It was so incredibly disturbing reading this comic issue. Like I got queasy and I was just some of the panels were so gruesome. It was intense how brutal Palpatine was being to him.
And when you think about this issue, for someone that hasn't been reading Darth Vader so far, again, just 6 issues in, but what's really happening right now? What's the time period? What are we exploring right now?
So it's after Empire Strikes Back, and Vader has told Luke that he is his father, and Luke didn't accept that and escaped. And so Vader went on this mission to figure out who turned Luke the way that he is. And we went through this wonderful prequel exploration with Sabe and Ricole and all these wonderful prequel characters. And because of all of this, Palpatine sees Vader as being treasonous, as being a traitor, because he didn't follow instructions. And so Palpatine is punishing him. And the cool thing is, we see Vader broken, defeated, and at rock bottom. We don't see the invincible Vader. We see a very human Vader who is deeply affected by the people that he once cared about.
Which is a bit of a contrast when we think about maybe when we think of like Charles Soule's take on Vader, that 2015 run, 25 issues. A lot of fans think it's perfect. I'm one of those people. That was an all-powerful Vader that was able to put Inquisitors in its place and, handle Jakasa Nu and these, surviving Jedi, a very strong Vader, a raw Jedi after the events of Revenge of the Sith. But this is a Vader it feels like the world is kind of breaking in, learning about a Skywalker living. Well, there's only one way a Skywalker could walk this galaxy. That had to be my offspring. And we learn that Vader I don't want to give the spoiler away in this review. That's why you do your spoiler review on BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. But there is an epiphany that Vader has at the end of this issue. And I would think that between learning about a potential son, the Emperor's lack of respect for Vader, basically casting him as putting him right back on Mustafar, where he was found by the Emperor at the end of Revenge of the Sith, and then learning that another familiar Jedi from the past may still be alive. Mentally, you feel through the writing of Greg Pak, through the artistry of this comic, you definitely feel a sense that Vader is unstable and very not in control of his situation. He's definitely at his lowest low.
Absolutely.
So I guess, Marie, when we think about this issue, we're raving about it. We really like it, even though it is kind of disturbing. Would you say that it's the relationship between Palpatine and Vader further exploited that would be enough reason for anyone to go out to their LCS and buy this comic?
Yes, absolutely. I just think seeing someone who we usually see as incredibly strong, powerful, and invincible being taken down a few notches, and I know we don't always want to humanize our villains, but getting that little bit of humanness to him actually sort of makes his character more rich to me.
I would agree with that. It's the vulnerability of it. And I
Yeah.
think you have to play with that once in a while to allow Vader to be redeemed in Return of the Jedi. And I think that for a lot of people, I wasn't in the theaters in the 80s watching those movies for the first time. But, when I got to watch those movies, I had other movies to have context. But when I think about how Vader is redeemed in Return of the Jedi, I like knowing that there are these moments that tugged on him emotionally of his past, and that maybe was what helped keep the light, the little bit that existed in Vader, alive. But maybe I'm going way too deep into it, Marie. I don't know.
Well, I think that instead of Luke being electrocuted by Palpatine being this one giant push that pushed him over to the light, that perhaps it was just the last straw.
And that's a
Now
good
that
way
we're
to
seeing the series develop.
how overall though, like you're pretty happy with how this series has gone. It's only 6 issues. It's hard to judge, and
Yeah.
it's not fair to put it up against like Soul's 25 issue run. But I just think that of all the stories they tell in comic book form, they're really nailing Vader. Multiple points of the canon timeline.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't make a mistake with this guy. It's like everything you have Vader touch, whether it's Rogue One or it's here in the comics. You had the canon novel Lords of the Sith several years ago, but it's all really good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny. I'm always like, there's no way they can do another Vader thing. There's no more stories. And then I read them and I'm like, oh, well, never mind.
That's funny.
Because they're always so good.
Looking ahead to the future, Marie, what are the comics out next week that we should keep an eye open for? Because as far as I know, the big one is Star Wars Bounty Hunters.
Yes. Bounty Hunters number 6, where we see the return of Forlom and Zuckuss, which should be really interesting. I'm pretty excited about that one.
And it's I mean, from my point of view, that's definitely a comic. If you're more in the trenches of your Star Wars fandom, if it's for more insider baseball, but it's a fun little run right now. And if you have time and you have the money to pick up an extra line, it's a fun one to explore. I believe the previous issue was the one where we saw Boba Fett just really wreak havoc on those around him, and so it's a fun adventure, I think, for any comic fan to enjoy.
Absolutely.
Murray, I left you hanging there. I was like, I didn't know if you wanted to say anything more about that, but I will give you the opportunity, as always. If people want to interact with you about comic books, specifically Star Wars comic books, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Alia Morgaine.
All right, wonderful. And that's on the screen. Marie Wilson with Beyond the Blast Doors, talking about Star Wars comics beyond the panel. We do it every week on the show. Marie, thanks for stopping by.
You're welcome. Thank you.
We'll see you soon.